Drones aren't just toys for photographers anymore. They've become this new, really complex security challenge that's playing out in the skies right above our heads every single day. I mean, they're everywhere, from these tiny little things zipping around the park to super sophisticated military gear. The problem is their growth has just exploded, and it's way outpaced our ability to control them. This has created a massive and often totally invisible security risk. So that's the big question, right? How do you stop a threat you can barely even see? Today, we're going to dive into the incredible tech behind this silent battle being fought in our skies. And look, this isn't some science fiction movie plot. The threat is absolutely real. Back in 2018, rogue drones just completely shut down London's Gatwick Airport. It caused total chaos for days. That same year, you had 2 drones loaded with explosives used in an assassination attempt on a head of state. And then in 2021, a police drone actually collided with a small plane, which just goes to show you that even accidents can have incredibly dangerous, even fatal consequences. So, that brings us to the first huge problem. Before you can even think about stopping a rogue drone, you gotta find it first. And as we're about to see, that is way, way harder than it sounds. When it comes to finding them, there are really 2 fundamental ways to do it. You've got active systems, which are kind of like a searchlight. They're constantly sending energy out, like a radar wave, and then they look for what bounces back. And then you have passive systems. These are more like listening posts. They don't send anything out at all. They just sit there and listen for any signs of the drone, like the sound of its propellers or the radio signals talking to the pilot. And this is where you really see the core dilemma for drone defense. There's just no single perfect solution. Acoustic sensors are great and lightweight, but try using one in a noisy city. It's practically useless. Cameras are fantastic, but what happens when it's foggy or dark? They're blind. Radar can see in any weather, which is awesome, but it has a really hard time telling the difference between a drone and a bird. And radio frequency sensors, they're amazing for finding the pilot, but they have to know exactly what radio signal they're supposed to be listening for. See the problem? Every single sensor has a blind spot. This quote just hits the nail on the head. Drones are small, they're usually made of plastic, they're quiet. I mean, they are designed to be hard to spot. That makes trying to protect a sensitive area a massive, massive technological headache. Okay, so let's say you've actually managed to find one. The alarm bells are ringing. Now what? How do you actually neutralize it? Well, the options get pretty interesting, ranging from the very physical to the totally invisible. So your first option is, well, the most straightforward one, you hit it with something. This is what they call kinetic solutions. It could be another drone that's built to chase it down and capture it, or a net gun that shoots out and tangles up its propellers. Or, you could just shoot it. It's direct for sure, but you can imagine it gets messy and you're running a big risk of collateral damage if you miss. Then you start getting into the really cool sci-fi stuff, directed energy. We're talking high-powered lasers that can literally burn a hole right through the drone or just blind its cameras. Or you could use an EMP, which fires a focused beam of microwaves to completely fry its electronics from the inside out without making a single sound. And finally, you have electronic warfare, which is honestly one of the most common and effective methods out there. See, instead of attacking the drone's body, you attack its brain. Jamming just floods the air with radio noise, which cuts the connection between the drone and its pilot. Spoofing is even sneakier. It actually feeds the drone fake GPS signals, basically tricking it into flying wherever you want it to go. But, and this is a huge but, jamming has a major problem. It's not a scalpel, it's a sledgehammer. The radio signals don't just stop the drone, they can interfere with everything else around it. Your cell phone, Wi-Fi, even critical hospital equipment. And that's exactly why its use is so heavily restricted and is flat out illegal for civilians to use in most places. And this quote points to a fundamental truth here. Taking down the drone, that's only half the battle. If someone is determined, they can just launch another one 5 minutes later. The real goal, the strategic win, isn't just stopping the machine. It's finding and stopping the person who's flying it. So, if every single one of these tools has a flaw, what's the answer? Where is all of this heading? Well, it turns out the future isn't about finding one perfect tool, but about making many of them work together. Yeah, the most effective solutions that are coming out now are what we call hybrid systems. They're built on the idea that you just can't rely on one thing. So instead, they combine a whole bunch of different detection and defense methods into one single intelligent, layered system. Think about your security system at home. You probably don't just have a lock on the door, right? You might also have motion sensors, cameras, Each piece of technology covers for the weaknesses of the others. And here's a perfect example of how those layers work together. It's pretty cool. First, you have an RF sensor, that's the ears of the system, and it picks up a drone's radio signal. That instantly triggers the eyes, an AI-powered camera that whips around, locks onto the target, and visually confirms, yep, that's a drone and it's a threat. Only after it's confirmed is the countermeasure activated, like a super focused directional jammer that takes down the drone without disrupting everything else in the area. Detect, confirm, neutralize. It's a smart, layered defense. And the secret ingredient, the real magic making these new hybrid systems so powerful, is artificial intelligence. AI is the brain behind the operation. It's what allows a system to look at a video feed and, in a split second, tell the difference between a bird flapping its wings and a quadcopter spinning rotors. This makes detection incredibly fast, super accurate, and it gets rid of almost all of the false alarms that used to plague the older systems. This technology is evolving at a blistering pace. It's created this constant high-tech arms race happening right over our heads between what drones are capable of and how we can defend against them. And as these systems get smarter and more autonomous, it forces us to ask a really critical question. In this new era, who ultimately gets to control our skies? The answer to that is going to shape so much more than just our security. It's going to define the future of our privacy and freedom in the airspace all around us.